I'm not welcomed in my own country. I'm unable to open bank accounts. I'm unable to operate a business. I'm unable to have a passport to travel. So you become a charity case. I mean, if I'm to tell you now today, Elizabeth, you can't have a bank account, okay? So where are people owed to send you money?
Yeah.
Even if I have to be employed, where must my employer pay my salary? So we've become charity cases.
Michael, thank you so much for coming on Africa Speak once again. So having a sit down interview once again after a whole year. So letting you rest. But today we got you. So yeah, the very first question that I have for you is you have been arrested. You have lost money. You have lost friends. Even your freedom at this point. So, but after everything that happened, after everything that you have lost, what part of Michael Amushelelo refuses to die?
Here's the thing, when people say I've lost, what is it that I've exactly lost? If I still have my mind, I still have my sanity, I still have my peace, I'm still happy. So when people define losing, I think we have become so materialistic that we only have material things. Michael is still very much spiritually wealthy. He's still very much, in terms of wisdom and knowledge, very wealthy. So I have not lost anything. In fact, if it is anything, this is just preparation. You know, when they say sometimes you must empty the cup in order to make room for new water. So my cup has just been emptied. Now it's going to start overflowing very soon. So I've not lost anything.
Not lost it.
No, not at all.
It's actually, because it's actually great to hear that you haven't lost one of the most important things, the mind.
Yes.
So, like, you also recently described yourself as a charity case as well. Because, like, as Namibian, we keep kind of like betraying you. So you just currently, like, you rely on people's kindness. And like, maybe like, how has your personal and financial reality shifted and changed over the past years?
So the honest truth is that some of us are unemployable. Like, no one wants to hire Amushelelo. Like, ew, no, ew. There are people that are in government who would now and then call me, but they would call me from a different number just so that they don't get picked up, that they do have conversations with me. So unfortunately, I've become what is called persona non grata. I'm sure you guys would remember what happened to the South African ambassador to the US, who was declared persona non grata, meaning that you are not welcomed here anymore. So I'm not welcomed in my own country. And for that mere fact, and coupled with the other facts like I'm unable to open bank accounts, I'm unable to operate a business, I'm unable to have a passport to travel. So you become a charity case. I mean, if I'm to tell you now today, Elizabeth, you can't have a bank account, okay? So where are people owed to send you money?
Yeah.
Even if I have to be employed, where must my employer pay my salary? So we've become charity cases, but this was just a phrase that I used in court. And I realized that the court or people take everything literal. Like, even when I said they are puppets, do you know what a puppet is? A puppet is something that dances on the string. So for a judge to want to assume that they are on a string and when you pull the thing like this, it goes up like this. Come on, it's like people take things literally. Some things are called figure of speech for a reason. And me saying I'm a charity case, it's a figure of speech. I mean, the only time I have to rely on the Namibian public is for cases that I've picked up as a result of their issues that they've brought to me. So if you, Elizabeth, bring your case to me, and now I'm getting sued because of your case, whose fault is it?
Like all of us.
Precisely. So now people are saying, yeah, he's here begging for money, but I'm begging for money so I can continue helping your sisters, your mothers, your fathers, your uncles, your boyfriend, your girlfriends, your nieces and nephews that are being oppressed. Now, we have not yet understood that we need each other. I mean, yes, Amushelelo runs around, but does anyone ever ask him, how does this guy manage to run around for our things? Because half the time, not even half the time, 90%, I'm running to deal with other people's cases. I mean, I have my own cases. No one has ever seen me going to protest against the government to say, government, release my assets. Or government, you are corrupt, you have frozen my things. No, it's always other people's matters. Now, so I'm often asked the question as to why only now am I vocal? Why only now am I protesting and things of this sort? And I always challenge people to say, go and do a detailed background check on some of us. Some of us, we've been on the profiles of State House, which is now the State Intelligence, since 2012. Now, I recall in 2012, there were shacks being demolished by the city of Windhoek. And some of us bravely stood up to go and stand against the bulldozer. Remember, it's a bulldozer, man-made machine, steel versus just skinny boys. At the time, I think I was 21 years old or so. And we stood up bravely and we defended homes from being demolished by the city of Windhoek, despite the fact that they had demolished one home. And I remember I did an interview with one of the papers or one of the media houses. And they asked me, what is it that I think? And I told them, you know what? There is no difference between what is happening now and what used to happen back in the days during apartheid. During apartheid, the same way our people were relocated from old location, this is the same thing that's happening now. Now, bear in mind, in 2012, ministers used to drive around in Volvos. Now, they complained that the Volvos have become too small because they've obviously eaten the government coffers. Some of them have become too big and they wanted Mercedes-Benz. Remember, we transitioned from having Volvos to Mercedes-Benz because apparently the Mercedes-Benz were big and whatnot. And then some of us were brave enough to call them fat cats. And this was on national television. So when...
Now back then.
That was in 2012. It was not back then. 2012 is what, 13 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where some of us come with activism. Now, I remember very well when my father found out when he was showed this video clip and he was saying, hey, you must call your son to order. And then my father came and said, for as long as you're in this house, you must stop this nonsense that you are trying to do. So I lived under my father's roof until 2017. So some of us had to be like quiet because you are now living under someone's roof. But the moment I got out of my father's house, I said, hey, Bena, now it's time for us to fight fire with fire. So we've been in the game of activism for long. In fact, I always like to say my best friend, Gregory Klute, had he not been friends with me, by now he would be working as a state intelligence operative, meaning that he would be working for NCSI, Namibia, secret what. However, in his smartness, he revealed that, no, I'm friends with Michael Amushelelo. This was now in 2015. Now, immediately, he lost his opportunity to get a job just because of his affiliation to me. And this is 2015, not now. That's back then. So some of us, we've been critical and we've been vocal of the corruption, of the oppression and the injustice that's happening in our country. I mean, go and ask State House. I think there's a new law where you can get information disclosed. Go and ask them, we want the file on this young man. And then you can be able to see when is it exactly that some of us became persona non grata.
So now, I think now it's only the time that you are in the public limelight more, or that maybe you have the large following that you have built it yourself over the time.
Over the years. I mean, over the years, you pick up 1 follower, 2 followers, 3 followers, until eventually they become many followers. So people think you just become an overnight sensation or overnight success. It doesn't work like that. I mean, I remember when you guys started Johannesburg TV, and I jokingly said to you that once we do this episode, you guys are going to blow up. But not knowing that you guys had many episodes before the episodes I did with you. But people would only recognize you from the episode that we did, but they do not recognize all the other efforts and episodes that you guys did before the one that eventually made you guys now phenomenal. So that is how life is. So it takes that one moment where you become You were ordinary, and then you just go from ordinary to super extraordinary, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But over the years, you've been putting in the hard work.
That's so true. So, like you said in the past, you have been through this activism journey. Like you are even currently the People's General, but are you still the man today, the People's General, and or have maybe the streets turned you into someone else, probably?
Here's the thing: some of us cannot and will never be influenced by whatever it is that society does. I mean, we're not people that easily conform to the norm. You see, everyone wants to go with the trend. Everyone wants to follow the hype. Everyone wants to do all those things.
Yeah.
I mean, today I was receiving several calls. Amushelelo, why are you not at this protest and all of that? But I said, colleagues, this one time that Amushelelo does not show up for a protest, you guys want to crucify me.
Yeah.
But all along, some of us, we protest even when we are two, when we are one. Now, all of a sudden, because it has become a national public issue, people expect you to be there at the forefront and things like that. So some of us have always been at the forefront. And you look and analyze the things and say, no, let others go and get their shine. I mean, imagine going to a protest. There are members of parliament, there are ministers, deputy ministers, but people will be screaming for an ordinary person like myself. So you sometimes let the people go and have their shine, let them have their moment, because you understand that at some point, not everything has to be about you. And that is why for some of those protests, we had other commitments, but it's not to say that we have moved away from activism just because I've missed one singular protest.
That's so true. Yeah. I bet like everybody was expecting you today to go to the protest in Ohio.
Obviously, everyone was expecting me, but the problem is last night an incident happened. The one of the Chinese, and the embassy came out. So I had to stay also to see what was the progress on this particular issue.
But what happened with yesterday's incident? Like what really happened?
So what really happened is the guy went to the Chinese to go and ask for his money.
Yeah.
Now, the Chinese want to turn it around and say that, no, the guy was asking for a loan or an advance. Now, where in this country have you ever seen a Chinese company that gives advance? No, that pays their workers in advance. It's absolute nonsense. So the person got frustrated, and they got frustrated because they have seen that the system fails them over and over again. Now, what is interesting is this company 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was at this very same company where a worker was fired because this worker, the agreement was they will get paid $100 per day, and then they ended up changing to $60 per day. And then when this person said, but your agreement said it must be 100, then they said, no, we'll pay you that, but we will chase you away. And then in that very same company, there was a worker who was bitten by a snake. And that snake is still in the workshop or their factory.
The snake is their pet.
I have no idea whether it's their pet or whatever the case is. But so you can clearly see that they have no regard for our people whatsoever. How is it possible you have one worker that was bitten by a snake, but you still allow production to continue? And you can go and watch that video. They are there saying, yeah, it's like, it's just a casual thing. It's like having this murder in Okahanja, or this serial killer in Okahanja, and people still want to go on with an expo. It was the same absolute thing. So what happened is that this worker perhaps maybe got frustrated or whatever the case is, but the Chinese must release the full footage. You know, this thing of showing us just where the argument, then he takes out the knife. From there on, what happened?
What happened, yeah.
Where's the rest of the footage? Who assaulted who first? Who attacked who first? To what extent was the other person attacked?
Yeah.
Because remember, when you're defending yourself, you do have a right to defend yourself. But when you realize that you have overpowered the other person, but you still continue, that's no longer defending yourself. So, and if they were saying to say that they were defending themselves and all of that, why did they leave this worker unconscious.
And did they call the police?
They never called the police, none of that. So you can clearly see that this whole thing, they've got, perhaps the Chinese have got the medias in their pockets because they've managed to spin that story around real fast and real quick. Yeah, it's money. Money does that. Power does that. Influence does that. They can quickly wipe that thing under the carpet. So that is what power does. And for as long as we have our own people defending oppressors, it just tells you that we are still mentally enslaved.
Yeah, that's currently what's actually happening, because some people are standing up
And people are saying,
defending the Chinese.
no, the allegations are wrong. I literally was at the scene when this guy was unconscious. And perhaps English is a problem. When I say someone is unconscious, that already should give you an indication to say, yes, the person is still alive, but they just don't have reflexes over their mind. They are unable to speak or whatever the case is, meaning they're unconscious. They do not know what is going on. And when you say bleeding to death, there's a huge difference between saying someone has died.
Yeah.
So clearly the Chinese, and I don't blame them, they don't understand English. Their language is Mandarin.
And you
so
write it for
No. I had to properly translate it for them. Maybe they misunderstood what is it that I said. But nowhere do they refute that it was Chinese who had brutally assaulted that worker. They just say the person is not dead.
Yeah.
But okay, fine, the person is not dead. Who beat him then?
Beat him then. Yeah, they haven't really...
No. You see, these guys are smart. They know how to spin PR. Remember, China spins PR on a daily basis. Not just here in Namibia, everywhere else where they operate.
Yeah.
So for as long as we don't understand that, then unfortunately, there's nothing we're ever going to understand.
That's so true. And you know, like when you are home, and away from all the noise, like during the day and all that, and like the crowds, the cameras, like everything, just you, Amushelelo, like in your house. Like what weighs maybe the heaviest on your mind these days, and what is maybe the hardest truth that you have had to confront about yourself in that silence?
No, here's the thing. Your mind is one of the most powerful tools that you have. It's one of the greatest assets. And you don't play around with your mind with nonsensical or comical issues. Because your mind, once it starts to entertain a thought, once it starts to entertain an idea, it becomes so overwhelmed and it takes on that idea to the point whereby your mind will lead you to wherever it is that you want to go. Let's say, for example, you get a suicidal thought.
Yeah.
Your mind will drive you to take a wire or to take whatever string, to take a gun and literally pull it. That's how powerful your mind is. Do you think I would want to play around with a thing that powerful? Higher. In my spare time, I would sit around and then I would imagine my ghetto, how I'm going to turn it from a ghetto into a flourishing, beautiful home. Those are the things that I spend my time with. I spend it envisioning my future. I spend it visualizing my dreams, making plans, and then actualizing those dreams. So that is what I spend my time with. But to spend it maybe regretting to say, I should have not done this or I should have done this.
Don't you like reflect?
So here's the thing. Reflecting is almost similar to regretting. You can reflect, but nothing changes after your reflections. It's like sitting with a regret to say, man, I should have not dated that girl or I should have not dated that guy. So some of those things are useless. They are pointless. You are just wasting energy. You're just wasting your time.
But are there no like points where you're like, okay, maybe here I would have done this, or maybe here next time I will do this?
No, so here's the thing. When I say I spend my time visualizing the future, everything I do is calculated. I don't just do things for the sake of having them done. Like I would literally know, okay, today, this is what I'm going to do. These are the outcomes. These are the possible consequences. I've already pre-planned what is likely to happen. So I just don't wake up and say, okay, no, today I'm going to like I'm some random crazy person. No, you put well thought into whatever it is that you're going to execute. So there's no need for me to come and regret my plans because I've already formulated in terms of how I'm going to execute it.
But do you because now I think what people see at the public is you are saying you calculate everything that you do is calculated.
Yes.
Because that's not what we see.
Here's the thing. I think Thomas Sankara once said that you must seem like the madman of today in order to change the future. I'm not quite sure what the phrase does. So I cannot expect the average mind to comprehend whatever it is that I'm doing. Because the things we do are not average. Yeah. No one has the guts to stand up and confront a whole entire state machinery. Yeah. No one has the guts to stand up and do some of the things that we do. That is why some of you, on a daily basis, you bring your complaints, even things that you can stand up for yourself and be like, Chief, this thing you can go stand up for yourself, man. You do not have the courage. So when someone does not have the courage already, it simply tells you they do not have the imagination, they do not have the theta, they do not have the medulla to be able to comprehend some of the things that it is that we do. I mean, in this country alone, I would write something and I would write it in the most simplest form of writing. But still my statement would be misunderstood. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that our nation is not as really educated as we ought to think it is. And it worries me sometimes to say, Kucha, man, has our level of education gone down, or what is the actual problem? If people cannot just read, comprehend, and understand whatever it is that they've read. Now, I do not expect people to understand me. When Jesus was saying, give me a barrel of water there, people did not understand what the guy was doing. People thought he was mad. People thought he was crazy. When he said, man, give me that loaf of bread. Yeah. People assumed the guy was crazy. So by all means necessary, let people assume the things I do are crazy. But at the end of the day, people are like, oh, okay, the thing has produced results. But just yesterday, the very same people that were calling you crazy, today are the very same ones who are praising you. So I've understood that people do not know really what it is that they want. Yeah. So they flip-flop. That's why today they are on this side, tomorrow they're on this side, and the other day they're just neutral.
But Michael, because we have gone through the same education system, and we have lived in the same country. But where did you live as? Where did we get a different, or where did we go a different 10 and you took another 10?
So here's the problem. Now, many of us, we have only left what we were taught in school. And that's about it. And we've accepted that that is the truth, that is the reality. Some of us, we've decided, no, man, there is this thing called the internet. I understand the internet is like the new encyclopedia. Yeah. Let me do homework. Let me do research. Now, some of us, we don't spend the whole day on the internet just browsing through people's profiles or WhatsApp status or TikTok content or whatever. No, we literally spend some of our time reading books, educating ourselves, reading up on things that are of national importance, and just understanding the basic things. I mean, get the average Namibian and just ask them, Kucha, what does Article 1 of the Namibian Constitution say? They won't be able to answer you. Ask them how many articles are in the Constitution. They won't be able to tell you. Ask them how many chapters. They'll be like, oh, there are even chapters. Hey, Opo, you have lost the person. Now, if someone who's claiming to be a Namibian doesn't even know what are the bases that forms the laws in Namibia, guys, man, it means somewhere, somehow, we are not training people to think. We are training them in what to know and what not to know. And that is a very dangerous thing for any society to have. What we must be able to do with our education system is be able to produce people who are thinkers. Not people, because an average Namibian wants you to think for them. That's why you'll be like, they'll literally call you to, they watch the same news, but they want you to explain to them the news.
What it means.
So what does that tell you? It now tells you that this person is susceptible to following whatever propaganda is told to them. Because now they'll just be like, I'll just listen to Elizabeth. That is why most of the time I would post about things on social media. Then they'll be like, we don't believe it. Remember, I was the first to post that intelligence is telling me that the minister has been arrested.
Yeah.
Everyone is like, we'll just wait for our traditional medias too. So people are still very much rooted in, if it comes from here, we can trust it.
Yeah.
But if it comes from Elizabeth, high corner. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for as long as people live in that type of mentality, it is easy for you to control them because you now own the means and the operatives in terms of what is the narrative that should be out there.
Yeah, that's so true. So like who is that person? Who are those people that but that stood with you throughout this whole journey? And who are those people that walked away? And what lesson maybe did it teach you?
So I'm not going to mention names in terms of those who walked away because they are now insignificant. Meaning that why would you mention something that's insignificant? It's like water that has evaporated. You can't mention water that has evaporated. However, I do have a brother and a best friend that has walked this way with me for a very long time. His name is Gregory Bennett Klute. I've known this guy now for I think now this year, I think this year we're celebrating 22 years of friendship. So that's how long I've known him. So he's my brother. We've been through thick and thin. Just yesterday we were having lunch together. After a very long time, I was able to afford him lunch. So I was like, hey, let me go take you out to lunch. So we were enjoying our lunch together. So yeah, he has literally stood by me. The rest of the people, I would call them acquaintances. They were not really friends. I've learned from a very long time to keep my circle very small. And I've lost friends over the years due to the fact that I've always been very ambitious. I'll tell people to say, I remember in 2012, when I resigned from my job, I told people I was going to become a millionaire. Hey, the way people were mocking at me, laughing at me. So I understood that that was their thinking capacity. They obviously just knew the broke Michael or the Michael that they knew from there. But they do not know that there was another Michael that I had envisioned. So for now, I'm just happy. I've got my best friend, my brother. The rest, I could care less because, like I said, it's water that has been evaporated. So,
like your brother now, has he also currently received criticism or kind of also being sidelined because of your activities?
I told you, like, he's the same guy who was supposed to be working now for the state and he lost his job. So he's pretty much being sidelined as well. So we're pretty much in the same boat. But guess what? We're in charge of this boat. This boat is not going to sink. Those who think the boat is going to sink, they must know that this boat is already a submarine. So it will just be submerging under the water, but it won't be sinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's okay. And I think one of the most personal change that we have also shared publicly on your social was the end of your marriage as well. So that could have been easy, especially with so much of your life already under the spotlight. So how did that come about? Because people are like, no, it is a lie or it's the truth or something like that. How did that come about? And maybe how did it influence you in your journey?
No, so obviously me and my ex-wife, we mutually parted ways.
So it's the truth.
Yes, it's the truth. So we were matured enough to say, you know what? You go live your life, I go live my life. And I don't know why divorce has to be nasty, where you guys now start publishing each other. all of that. She's still, we still communicate on a regular basis. An amazing woman. I was blessed to have had her as a wife. So I'll always just have praises for her. So nonetheless, life is such. I can only wish her the best with her journey. But that was a chapter in my life. Obviously, there's many chapters to my book. My book is not yet done being written. So I don't know what the next chapter is, but that chapter is officially a chapter that has closed. Yes. But you never know. The future, you never know what it holds.
What else?
Yeah, but Kadila always advises us to say, please, if you're going through divorce, we don't want babies in between, so
that they make sure they continue their case and they finalize it.
precisely.
But yeah, okay. I actually just want to move to the lawsuits now.
Yes.
So you've became like the sin of so sorry.
Not a problem.
So you've become now like the synonyms of lawsuits. Like when you hear something, like Michael comes to mind. But behind, beyond the headlines, what have those battles cost you emotionally, mentally, and financially?
Okay, mentally, nothing gets to me anymore. But financially, last year, we got sued by Namib Mills. They sued us for about 350,000. We went there to block one of their gates. This was as a result of them mistreating casual workers who work for APS. These workers were not allowed to use toilets. These workers were made to stand in the sun. It's almost apartheid all over again. But you know, these guys, they control the courts, they control the judges. And that's why I don't know why judges get pissed when some of us express ourselves in terms of Article 21 of freedom of speech. We have a right to criticize whoever it is. I don't know why people think they are gods when they are just people. They just have titles. I mean, we criticize the sitting president who appoints these judges. Now, these judges want to feel more important than who now? If we as citizens can criticize the president we have elected, then by surely any means, we can criticize whoever it is that gets appointed by the president, because that simply means you are chihuahua of the president by virtue of his appointment. Because remember, the president appoints his lieutenants or whatever it is that you want to call them. And then he gives them orders to say, you go do this. So by virtue of that, we can criticize virtually anyone. That's what democracy is. That's what, I tell these guys to say, guys, we can just scrap this notion of constitutional democracy if we do not feel like being a democracy. No one stops us from doing that. We can become like China, where it's a one-party state. Yes, we can become like Russia, where Vladimir Putin, after a while, he becomes prime minister, then he comes back. We can become like North Korea. No one stops us from doing that. But for the moment, if you are bearing this title of having a constitution, having a democracy, then by all means necessary, we are going to criticize whoever it is that occupies public office. No one asked you to become a judge. You wanted to become a judge. So by virtue of you wanting to be in that public platform, you have opened up yourself to criticism. Nothing else.
How many battles lawsuits you currently have?
I've lost count. I would have to go and eat justice and would have to type them in, because every day...
Estimate?
I can't estimate.
Are they over 10?
Most probably even more than 10, because the problem is on a daily basis, we get new letters threatening to sue. So some don't follow up, some do follow up, but I've lost count of how many lawsuits I now currently have.
Okay, so you have faced the asset freezer, tax invasion challenges or allegations, and 15 million
Forfeiture.
forfeiture. Yeah, is it forfeiture?
Yeah, forfeiture, that's totally.
Okay, forfeiture. So how do you respond to those who say you exploited your supporters financially?
I mean, it's heinous to say that I exploited people financially. Now, let me perhaps give people a brief background of what happened. So the government, for some reason, they want to silence me, shut me down. So what they do is they freeze my accounts. And once they freeze my accounts, they then go to the clients and say, come and open a case against him. If you open a case against him, we'll release your money.
Huh?
That's how I ended up having 365 charges, because it's just a duplication. It means 365 people opened cases of the same thing, and that's why you're facing 365 charges. Because the state convinced these poor people to say, this guy stole your money, he's not able to pay you out, so come and open a case. How, if I freeze your account today and I say pay your landlord, how are you going to pay your landlord?
The question exactly.
No, it's just a simple question.
Yeah.
I tell the government, I freeze my accounts today, and then let me deal with how I'm going to pay my people. But if you have taken my assets, they are now state property. I'm sure, remember the government recently bought cars worth 30 million. I'm sure they used part of that 15 million to buy those cars. So they are driving in my cars.
So I just wanted also to ask, which means that the people that you owed the money, so you can't pay them and you haven't paid them up until now as well.
Yeah, but here's the thing now. The mere fact that the money has now been forfeited to the state means that I'm no longer liable to pay those people. It is now the state's honor to pay out all those clients. So meaning that the government must now pay out those people.
So, but you also have a hope that you might one day be able to retain your properties and to get.
No, not even. I've given up on those property. People always ask me, like, why have you given up on those properties? I say, no, that's pocket change. Do you cry over pocket change? It's like the money you give to the car guard. You don't cry over money like that. So this mind over here has more wealth. I just need to tap into it. So I've given up on those things. Very soon, everything they have taken, I'm going to reclaim, not only 2 times, not only 3 times, maybe 100 times more. Because the mind is the greatest asset, and they forgot to freeze this. So they've not forfeited the mind. My mind has not been forfeited to the state. So I'm comfortable. I'm very happy that very soon and very soon, I'll have back everything and more.
Are you, okay, let me ask, are you probably angry with the government and taking revenge?
No, not even. Like, some of us don't even think of vengeance. Because if I wanted to take revenge on the government, do you think I'll be here protesting, marching, and doing things according to the books? By now, I would have fled the country. I would have gone like Sam Nujoma, was probably with a bicycle through Botswana, end up in Tanzania, go and mobilize for an armed struggle. Then I come back, then we say, yeah, wazala. But here I am, standing facing them like a man, just to show them that some of us were not cowards, some of us were not scared. And it's not even out of revenge or anything of the sort. If it was revenge, I would be bombing them. Because if you strip someone naked, you take everything from them, do you think this person is going to smile with you guys? No. This person is going to want to do the most. But that's not the case. I'm not even bothered. And the reason why I'm not bothered is because when you are dealing with delinquents, that is what you expect of them. Imagine a small boy, young as I was, they are scared, fearful. I feel sorry for them actually. Because if they were fearful of me, then I don't know if they sleep at night. Shashi, how is it possible that you have command of the army, the police, but you are scared of a small boy, one little small boy? So I feel actually sorry for them. And that is why when people often say, Amushelelo will pray for you, I say, no, please pray for the government because they are the ones who are scared. They are the ones who are afraid.
But you also need the prayers.
No, I'm saying, but they need it more. Remember, the Bible says, pray for your enemies. Huh? So may I pray for my enemies? Yes.
Okay, in regarding to the exploitation allegations now, the court said that you didn't directly also address these allegations as well. Like, what maybe was the silent the strategy, or is it like was just also like self?
It's not even that. So people must be able to understand and study cases. So in this case, I remember very well, it was being handled first by Sisa Namanje. And Sisa Namanje, for some or one other reason, he decided to pull out. And when he pulled out at a time conveniently when I was in prison. This was when I was 7 months.
The 7 months.
Yes. And during that time, I then started defending this matter myself. Eventually, the court appointed a legal aid lawyer. It was a legal aid lawyer that dealt with this case. Now, this is basically a lawyer being paid by the government to come and fight the government. So that is how we lost the case. And, you know, I sometimes want to go and appeal the case, but then I ask myself, Michael, do you honestly think if the hyena ate you up, the lion is going to feel mercy for you? So we are just dancing in their system. We are just dancing to their tunes. So I've decided I'm no longer going to participate in their circus. Let them do whatever it is that they want to do because they've already presumed that you are guilty. So I might as well be like a guilty man because what's the purpose of trying to presume your innocence when there is no way you are ever going to be found innocent by thugs and criminals? Because our system is virtually being run by thugs and criminals.
Okay, people that call you now a scammer and a fraudster and all that, like maybe does that like fuel maybe your fire or does it cut deeper than we see?
Not even. So this is what you must understand. No one who's ever tried to make significant progress in life was never not called a scammer. Albert Einstein, for his theories, he was called a scammer. Isaac Newton was called a scammer. In fact, every single person that I can name throughout history has been named a scammer. Sam Nujoma was called a terrorist.
Oh, yeah.
Tackling terroristic. So there's nothing new under the sun. Antiba Atweve was sentenced to prison for how many years?
25. Is it 25?
16 years. He spent 16 years there. But for what was his crime? His crime was that he was a fraud. He was trying to mislead people. So I'm not bothered by the titles that I'm going to receive. I mean, why was Jesus crucified? If people have to now honestly ask themselves. It's because people thought he was a fraud. He was a scammer. Like, how can this guy be feeding 5,000 people? You guys are lying. It's a scam. It's not the truth. So for as long as you are opposing the powers that be, they are going to assassinate your character. It's an old-fashioned trick. Make the people hate the person who wants to liberate them. Because who wants to be led by a person with all those titles? Because they know this person has the ability, they have the capacity to lead these people to wherever it is that they want to go. So what must we do? Let's rather say they are this and that. And that way, the people get discouraged to listen to your message. The people get discouraged to want to follow you. But guess what? They've just done the opposite. They call me scammer every day when they write their papers. They call me scammers every day when they write their headlines. But guess what? My following has just gone from I don't know what number to exponential numbers. I was looking at my Facebook followers yesterday. I now have over 280,000 followers on Facebook. I don't know what's our population, but if our population is 3 million, that simply means at least I've got about 10% of the population following me, give or take. And this is just now for my Facebook. I don't know what is happening on my TikToks, Instagram, because the platforms are just way too many to be monitoring everything that is going on. So by all means necessary, they must continue calling me scammer, continue calling me fraud. it seems to me it just keeps doubling the amount of followers that I'm receiving.
Yeah. And the day you called the judges like little gods and puppets, like what really pushed you to that point for you to call them that? Because it like landed you in the...
It's not even about what pushed me. Some of us, we will continue saying the things that we say. And it's not because we want to say them, it's because we have observed how the court system have become. I mean, if you look at in terms of the election dispute, it's the same thing that happened in 2019. It just repeated itself. So when things repeat themselves, you must be able to point out and call them as they are. Now, the reason why, and people must go and look at the record. Now, the lawyers for Joseph Shikongo, they were arguing to say that judges take an oath. And because of this oath that they take, they are somehow sort of, I don't know now, better, superior. Remember, we've got ministers who have taken oaths that are now sitting in prison. We've got people, police officers who have taken oaths who are also sitting in prison. It doesn't mean if you have taken an oath, you are going to abide by that oath. So mine was just to say, Kucha, no, you might argue to say that judges have taken oaths, but I think the problem comes because when we call these people, my Lord, your worship, and all of this, and I don't know why we still call these people my lords. We call ourselves a Christian nation and all of this, but your Bible says you shall only have one God. Now, when you call another man who's human like you, my Lord, my worship, that's a cardinal sin. So some of us, we oppose to these things because why? In America, a judge is called by his name. If it's Judge Nelson, then I say Judge Nelson, not my Lord Nelson. Because he's not your Lord. So some of these things, we must be able to decolonize the system. And some of us who are at the forefront of decolonizing the system, we are going to continue saying that, but you are not gods. But are they gods? If I ask them, who's your mother? They will tell me who's their mother. They will not say he's the one in. So they're not gods. They're just merely human beings. So I think they want to instill a fear in us. They want to send a strong message to say that the judiciary can and shall not be criticized. And you must remember, there used to be an editor, Jonathan Beekes, from New Era. He got fired simply because he allowed an article against the judiciary to be published in the newspaper. Remember that story? So the judiciary is like, these guys, they want to protect themselves. And they are going to use the same courts to want to sort of shield themselves and things of that sort. And that is why we must be able to be honest. Is the judiciary truly independent when they are appointed by the executive? You know, people say, but no, judges are appointed, apologies for that. Judges are appointed by the Judicial Service Commission. But now, if you look at the Judicial Service Commission, guess who sits there? It's the judge president, no, not the judge president, the chief justice, the deputy chief justice, and the attorney general. Who appoints these three people?
The president.
The president. God damn it. Now you want to tell me these three people who are appointed by the president are the ones who recommend to the president which judges must become judges of the High Court. And then you still want to say the system is independent. In other countries, judges run for office like a president would run for office. And then we as the public get to decide who is it that we want to have as judge. But here, it's a thing of, okay, this one is my friend, this one will protect me. Hey, you come. This position is yours. That's how it has always been.
But also as a government, you need to protect yourself and making sure that you close all the loopholes.
But that's the whole thing. People have not understood the concept of government. I mean, I keep saying, we have people who were just in the bush. They got tired of being in the bush and they got into offices. They've got no knowledge of what government is. And that is why they are unable to separate the state from their own political things. I mean, recently, the president, I don't know in which part of the country she was, but she became very angry because members in parliament voted for an opposition member to become a deputy chair of some committee. Colleagues, once people enter parliament, they leave their political affiliations. They all now become servants of the whole entire Namibian nation. In fact, once elections are over, we leave party nonsense here, and then the focus is now just service delivery. But these guys know, they are there. As SWAPO comrades, you must vote for other SWAPO comrades. Colleagues, these people just shows you that they are primitive. They still don't understand what is the whole concept of governments, what is the concept of democracy, what is the concept of constitution. And we don't blame them because these are things they did not know. It's things that we literally introduced to them. Remember, our country became as a result of the Western powers coming together and saying, this is the concept that we're giving to you. It's not our concept. It's a foreign concept. And that's why we are unable to understand this foreign concept. It's like if I give you a kidney now, your body is going to reject that kidney. Why does your body reject that kidney?
Because it's not easy.
It's foreign. Now, the same thing with these concepts. We must be able as Africans to say, but colleagues, this thing is not working, man. What is it that we can create that is our own?
Like that will take a long time.
It won't take a long time. Like, the problem is we do not just want to think. We do not want to implement. That's the whole problem here.
And we do not want to, as Namibians, I think we care very much about our public, what people think about us and how people see us. And we are seen as the kind people, the kindest nation and the peaceful nation. So
not even, I don't think Namibians know what it is that they want.
But you say we are too much peaceful, which is like stupidity.
No, but I'm saying, I don't think we as Namibians know what it is that we want. If I ask you, what is our agenda for the world? We don't have an agenda. If I ask you, what is it that we want? We do not know what it is that we want. We are, you know, when people say they are lost nations, I think we are a person that is. So, but that is a result of not having visionary leadership. Because when leaders have vision, they tell their people where is it that they are going. Right now as a country, where are we going?
We are following the president.
To where? To where? To where? Where are they taking us? There is not a clear, you see, and that is why we must be able to give credit to some leaders.
Like?
I'm not going to mention names now. We get sued. Don't mention no names.
You are positively speaking about them.
No. So let's look at a guy like Thomas Sankara. And I'll speak about Sankara because he knew exactly what it is that he wanted for his country.
Yeah.
Now, first thing is first, he changed the name of his country. Upper Volta. That's what it used to be called. It's an old French colonial name. And then he changed it to Burkina Faso, which basically means land of the upright. Now, that is already someone who was having intent and a declaration to say, this is going to be the land of people who are upright, forthright.
Yeah.
So that is what you need in today's society.
Yeah.
And sadly, we don't produce them anymore like that. I can mention the likes of Patrice Lumumba, and the list can carry forth and forth. Those were leaders that we had. I mean, do you know that Robert Sobukwe was the most feared man on Robben Island? He was so feared that they housed him alone. He was never mingling with her. And do you know why that was?
Yeah, why?
He was able to organize the masses You know, there used to be this pass laws whereby you cannot go to Oshakati if you don't have a pass.
Yeah.
You can't come to Windhoek if you don't have a pass. This guy organized marches to say, hey, colleagues, let's defy these laws. So he was more influential than Nelson and all those other guys at Robben Island. And that's why they had to kill him. A guy like Chris Hani. Chris Hani was clear to say, comrades, we did not go to war to go fight for freedom of movement. We went to war to go fight for the land, to have control of the economy. That is why immediately after the first CODESA conference, what did they do? Killed him because he said he was not going to allow for whites to still continue owning the land and all the mines and all of that. He was saying no over his dead body. And guess what? He died. So we don't produce leaders like that anymore. Because imagine right now, we've got members of parliament. They earn about 40, 50, I don't know how much it is that they earn. But they are complaining about those salaries. They are saying they can't afford houses. You don't get into politics and into parliament to serve your own interest. You get there to serve the interest of your people. Now you can clearly see when you've got politicians like that who are just thinking of their own stomachs. People in this country survive on less than 3,500.
Yeah.
Some of us have been the only ones at the forefront of saying, colleagues, this is absolute nonsense. But MPs are complaining about their 40,000. And guess what? These people work from Tuesday until Thursday. They usually work from 2 o'clock until 5 o'clock, meaning that they work 3 hours a day. In a week, that's 9 hours. You want to complain for a salary of 50,000. A poor security guard who works from 6 to 6, 12 hours, he only makes 150 or 135 per day. You, for those 3 hours, you have already made almost 2,000 or 3,000. I don't know how much it is, but you want to complain about that?
With the recent with the new cabinet that we currently have, and like for a month now that the parliament has been in session, do you see like any changes or like any hopes like there's actually change for this? Maybe in the past 5 years we are going to have change with the whole member of parliament that we have, and with different opposition parties having really large portions in that as well.
I think we must be like farmers now. And we must be able to be honest with ourselves that a month, 2 months, a year is not sufficient enough. Let's give these people 2 years. Because these people now need to prepare the ground. They need to first cultivate, then they plant, then after the planting, it's harvesting and all of that. So let's give these people time. We give them a year, we give them 2, and see what is it that they really want to do.
Yeah.
And then from there on, based on that, from the 3rd year, we can really start to judge by saying, colleagues, man, you guys, there's nothing happening here.
Yeah.
But for now, it will be premature of us to say what is going to happen and what is not going to happen. We might be surprised, we might not be surprised, but I'm also choosing to be optimistic. I'm not really an optimistic person when it comes to these politicians.
Yeah.
But I'm choosing to be optimistic this time around. And let's wait and see. But in this wait and see, they must not think we're not going to hold them accountable when we see them doing wrong. I mean, I recently saw the Minister of Health saying that from now on, clinics and all other health centers, they're no longer closing for lunch. Some of us have been calling to say that clinics must be open for 24 hours. So this is a start. So you can clearly see they are taking notes, they are listening, they are seeing what it is some of us are suggesting to them. So by all means necessary, we'll continue correcting them from outside and we'll continue giving them free advice. They don't even need this many presidential advisors. They can fire all those many presidential advisors that they have. We, the people, will continue to advise them freely ourselves, because after all, it is us, the people, who know what our issues are. So why must you need someone to come and advise you on what the issues are of your people. When we, the people, can just raise up our issues, you must just be able to pay attention and listen to whatever it is that we are going to suggest.
Exactly. You know, I told you at the beginning that I've taken note of all the questions that I've been wanting to ask you from last year. So, like, I want to go now to the political side. You moving from thing that was not during election. So people called you a political prostitute because you moved from NIEF and then you went to LPM and then you came back again. So what do you think those people labels get wrong about you, and what was the whole saga about?
So you see, when some of us say we are the most feared people in this country, it's not just because we want to say it, it's literal. This country has been independent now for 35 years. Now, last year we were 34. Now, mention for me in those 34 years, when have you ever heard of a political party being deregistered in a political year? That just shows you how threatened these people were. Like literally threatened. That's why they even rigged elections, deregistered political parties, because they knew they were not going to be in power today. They had to go get Zimbabwean consultants, ZANU-PF, to consult them on how to rig elections, frustrate voters, make the long queue, make sure there are no ballot papers, stuff ballot papers, reopen polling stations, but only at specific areas that you control.
But don't you think that was just like it was not planned?
No, that was deliberate. It's not to say that was not planned. How do you go and print 3.2 million ballot papers while you only have, was it 1.2 million registered voters? So that simply means you had more than enough ballot papers. You had in fact planned for that. But it clearly shows you and indicates to you that that was the idea. Now, people can call me a flip-flop or anything of the sort, but you must be able to understand I was the threat and I still continue to be the threat at Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters. So we had a plan to say, okay, I go lay low somewhere else, and then the party just stays there. We won our court case. If you won your court case, it's like when your kabasho burns down. Where do you go? You go live in someone's house. So my kabasho had burned down. So I just went to go seek refuge at someone's house. And at that someone's house, I came back to my house. So that's it.
You tell them that.
Tell who?
That the LPM, that you were just there for a short
You can't, because you do not know who's your enemy.
Oh.
How do you know who's your enemy? So your plans must be discreet. Because once they know, oh, so this is the plan now, Mbori, he's just there. Okay, let's bend this one also down then. And then this one, we must make sure it doesn't go anywhere.
But NIEF knew.
Yes, they knew. Yes.
Interesting. But now, but you also, did you want to go in parliament as well?
Not, some of us have no interest in parliament. You know, some of us, we don't need positions to have influence in society. I mean, I'm more influential than, I can say, how many members of parliament? We have 104, ne? At least 100 of them combined, their influence will still not come close to the influence that I have. And it's not to say I'm bragging or anything of the sort. But that's just the reality. I mean, if I'm to ask you now, mention for me now 10 parliamentarians. Chances are you don't know them. Go to the ordinary person and say, please, can you mention for me how many parliamentarians we have? They don't even know how many parliamentarians they have. They are there. So for some of us, the interest will never be parliament or positions, but it will be always to serve our people. And we'll serve them in whatever capacity. Whether I'm a cleaner, whether I'm just a guy who drives a taxi, we'll serve our people in whatever capacity, because serving is all that we know. We don't need positions, we don't need titles in order for us to serve our people. I mean, we have honorables, but those honorables don't even take up the problems of people. They don't fight for their people. So they are honorables for what?
For them, I think they use the system now.
What system?
That they have.
There's no system that they have. I can guarantee you now, even members of parliament, when they have issues, they come to people like us. No, I'm not joking. It sounds like a joke. So the system is only when you have control over it. If you're an ordinary MP in the opposition benches, you are just equivalent to what I am. You must probably just have the status of being called an honorable. But best believe some of us, in terms of influence, we are more influential than some of you put together. And that is what true leadership is. True leadership is being able to influence. I mean, just last night, in the middle of the night, I had the Chinese embassy typing up a whole press release.
For you.
Just to say, this thing, ni hao, cha, no, Amushelelo, no, good ha. That's, but if it was a member of parliament, they must probably ignore it. This one, what does he want? But because they realize that there are people who have real influence, they immediately respond.
Responded, yeah. You know, people say, or like you have been accused of self-promotion, dressed up as an activism, trying to serve your own interest and using at the expense of the poor or the people who can't stand up for themselves. But in your mind, where is the line between building your name and fighting for the people?
I tell people there is no place where you can go and apply for activism. Not in this country. So if people think I'm doing this for self-gain or whatever, I always tell people, Kucha, at any given day, I'm ready to step down. By all means necessary, come and take up this role that I've taken up. Because this is voluntary. This is not something that we get paid to do or you apply for it. This is not a job at the United Nations. This is not a job at One Economy Foundation. This is not a job at NBC or whatever. It's a job that you just wake up one day and you decide you are fed up with the system. So if you are happy with how things are, the status quo, if you are happy with the fact that there is a child that does not drink clean water, there is a child that does not eat proper food. If you're happy with that, then by all means necessary, no one is going to stop you from being happy. But some of us, we're not happy with the status quo of our country. And we know for a fact that this country has the potential, has the resources to be able to cater for each and every single one. However, due to greedy, selfish people, our country is where it is. Inequalities are high, unemployment is high, crime is high, everything is literally on steroids, corruption is high. Nothing is not high in this country. So, by all means necessary, if anyone wants to come and become the people's general, I'm not going to stop you. In fact, I'm going to endorse you fully. By all means necessary, be.
Like, but you said earlier that everything you do is calculated. You know what is you measure the outcomes, the consequences and all that. But what is the end goal? Like, what is the main end goal that you want?
The end goal is to make sure that no Namibian goes to bed on a hungry stomach. No Namibian must walk 10 kilometers to reach a clinic.
At the expense of your own life.
That's fine. I mean, some of us have understood that there must be sacrifices. Nothing easy or nothing worth having comes easy. So some of us have understood that we must become the sacrificial lambs, as they put it in biblical terms, in order for good to come from this. You know, we're speaking about free tertiary education next year. We are currently struggling with free primary and secondary. There is no books. There is not enough spaces to accommodate. Do you know that by next year, if presumably, do you know how many people are right now sitting at home who have passed their grade 12s but do not have the funds to go to university? Now, plus the people who are going to pass next year. At which universities do you want to take these people?
And plus those...
No. At which universities? Let's just take the enrollments at universities is already full to its brim. So unless the government is telling me that they've this year put up a budget to build new universities, then once again, it's going to be the same mess that we have created at the lower primary. Today, children do not have to, or we do not have to pay school fees, but parents have to fork out more just to have their children educated. In fact, people are saying, no, let's just revert back to the old system. Because the old system, I paid once, then I knew or poor. Now, it's cost on cost on cost on cost on cost on cost. So unless we have nationalized our minerals, or I don't know what is it that we are going to do, then this one is going to just be another mess.
So it won't really materialize.
Guys, I'm saying we already have this mess of primary schools, secondary schools. Now you want to take the mess up all the way to universities. Go and speak secretly to this profs, or what is it? You call them chancellors or whatever is this? What the rectors or whatever? Or, I don't know what their titles is. I've never been to university. I did register to go to university, but I never finished.
Really?
Yeah, I was supposed to study media and law at UNAM, but I said, nah, leave this nonsense. I'm going to do other things. So, but go and ask them secretly to say, guys, are you guys ready for this free what? They'll all tell you in confidence and in private, to say, this is absolute nonsense that these people are talking about. Because first, you must be able to have the capacity. Because if 20,000 people next year want to go to university, we don't have the capacity of enrolling 20,000 people in this country. That capacity is not there. So what needs to happen this year, if these people are serious, we need to start building new universities. I mean, imagine all the kids wanting to go study medicine now because it's free. Do you think the School of Medicine would be able to?
No.
It's going to be overwhelmed. The system is going to be yeses. So, I don't know. Maybe they have a plan. Maybe. But we'll see next year. Next year, don't say we are prophets, but next year is going to be next year.
Okay. And when it's all said and done now, do you want history to remember you as an activism who like ended politics, or a politician who sold the dream?
No, please, guys, and I'm gonna refute this thing of being called a politician. Like, I discussed the word politician like nobody's business, because these are only people who think about elections. They don't care about the people. That is why after elections, you are like a used condom. They do not care about you. Some of us were leaders. So, and we do not care about how history remembers us, because you are gone. I'm in the casket, guys, for goodness sake. I know I did not live in peace, so at least let me go rest in peace. So why would I be bothered by whatever it is that people are going to write? So history will judge me, but guess what's the beauty? I won't be here. That's the best part. When they come and say, he was this, he was this. But here's the one thing that I can guarantee you right now. I don't know whether people are fake. But I can rest you assured, if I'm to die today, my dear, the whole nation is going to be like, oh, we lost the great. But now that I'm alive, they are going to be critical of you. They're going to be, that's just how life is.
Like I can already imagine.
No, that's just how life is. Even people who, oh, but he was, but now that you're alive, because you intimidate others, no one is going to say, Elizabeth, you're doing a great job. Even your peers, there are people who know you. They're not going to recognize you because they are envious of you. They are jealous of you. But they know for a fact, oh, is it not that one that we saw recently at COP, what? We are hearing the things in the street, huh? Which she thinks now because she was there. They are there making faces. So that's how people are. So don't care what they say about you. Don't even be bothered with what they think about you, because they are just humans. Let them live their lives. If they want to live their lives being judgmental of others, let them be. They want to live their lives being envious, let them be. But you just focus on your life. You only have one life. If you live it right, That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think one thing that I kind of like, and I appreciate is that I don't really get influenced by others, and I don't really mind of what other people think, because I know what I want in life, so I know the road. I kind of, even though I don't like have a clear picture of where,
Yes.
but I have an idea.
That's
So yeah. Okay, and let me back now. Has your image an activist built your credibility or maybe damaged it? And what has taught you about loyalty, perception, and the cost of having a public brand?
So some of us are not really concerned about images and things of that sort. I remember a few years ago, I was speaking to my lawyer, Kadila Hamomo, and he came in to ask me if he can open a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And he was very skeptical to say, but man, are people not going to speak what are done? I told him one thing, Kadira, whether you do bad or whether you do good, people are going to speak. The only bad publicity is no publicity. He went on, he opened his Facebook page. Today, there is no other law firm that is bigger than Kadila Law Firm. And that's because he decided to say he's going to go against the odd and the norm. I have not seen in this country any other law firm that puts up billboards, any other law firm that's so active on social media,
They're speaking out on issues.
vocal and all of that. So sometimes you must not be too concerned with this images things, because either way, people will always find something to say about you, whether it's negative, whether it's positive. All you need to do is focus on living your life, focus on being you, and that's all that matters above everything else. Everything else just becomes noise. And like I always tell people, block. If it's too loud, you block. That's it.
Exactly. And if the system collapse maybe tomorrow, our Namibian system collapse, and you had a chance maybe to rebuild the Namibia from scratch, what does Amushelo's Namibia look like? How?
If we had to rebuild Namibia from scratch tomorrow, I think we would have to look at what works and what doesn't work. The problem is we have become too theoretical and less practical. What we need right now as a country is, number one, we need to be able to feed ourselves. So food security is the first thing. I don't care how well technologically advanced you are or whatsoever. This thing has not yet evolved to a point whereby we can just not eat for a week and we'll still be fine.
Yeah.
So for as long as this biological thing continues to consume energy, food on a daily basis, that is the first and foremost priority. Next thing would be power. Get electricity. Electricity is one of the biggest empowerment. Now, imagine if you are able to give rural electrification to every village. First thing is first, these people now, let's say I want to sell fish in a remote village there in Okunene. I won't be able to, because fish is a commodity that goes bad very easily.
Yeah.
But if there's electricity, I buy my fridge, I stock my fish, and then I sell. Stock my beer, cool drink, I sell. Put in a jukebox, dollar, make music or make money. So electricity gives people power. How many learners do we have that graduated from vocational training who maybe have the tools of welding or sewing machines, but they just don't have the electricity to be able to carry that? So electricity becomes your next thing. Then from there on, your education, obviously, your health, and then your sports. Because if we start treating sport as an industry, an economic vehicle, sport is one of those things that has the ability to create thousands of jobs. Imagine I'm a soccer star today.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people revolve around me? I've got the person who just is my personal assistant. Then I've got my physiotherapist. Then I've got the person who they call, what is this thing? Your scout. The person who, then you've got your person who just go looks for endorsement deals. All these people are just feeding off one person. It's the same with music, arts. Imagine I become a big global icon.
Yeah.
I need bodyguards, I need drivers, I need housemates.
Yeah.
It becomes an industry that feeds the rest of the people. But for as long as we treat these things lightly, things are not going to work. I mean, right now, we live in an era where we must be able to consume our own soul peace. And there's so many talented young people there. I see young people now use platforms like YouTube in order to put out their content there.
Yeah.
But why is it that we are not saying, NBC, take that content, put it there, pay these young people to act?
To act. Exactly.
So there's so many things that it is that we can be able to do, but that one was probably going to require a separate interview, because I'll then have to go literally in depth in terms of how is it that we're going to rebuild a Namibia, and how is it possible that we are going to be able to rally every single citizen to buy into this vision and to buy into this dream. Because remember, you can, as a leader, have a vision for a country, have a dream. But if the people do not buy into that dream, you are going to fail. You will never be able to make it a reality. Remember, it is always your people who need to understand what is the vision, what is the dream.
Yeah.
Once you have made them understand, once they buy into it, then they are the ones who are going to give you support. They are the ones who are going to give you a lending hand. I mean, when last have you seen a leader like our late founding father, Sam Nujoma, who goes and says, colleagues, this is a national project. We want to build a railway from here until there. And then he rallies the whole nation to be part of that particular project. That is the type of leadership that we need now, whereby you say, this is the dream, this is the vision. Then everyone else buys into it. And then everyone gives you that lending support. That is how you change a country. You cannot change the country without its people. The people must be able to understand, oh, so this is the vision. I mean, if you look at the leader of Singapore, he had a vision, he had a dream. He said he's going to transform Singapore. Look at Singapore today.
The way it is.
I mean, there was a point in time where Singapore was so poor. Malaysia wanted to buy Singapore. That's how poor Singapore was. But today, Singapore is a thriving nation. Due to what? The leader had vision, but guess what? He made sure the people equally understood that vision and that dream. So if our leader, Merekulu, has a vision and she has a plan, my advice to her is to say, share that vision with the nation. Make it as clear as possible. And then get the people to rally behind you in that vision. That's the only way you are going to succeed as a leader. Because as a leader, you are nothing without the people. I mean, I always tell people, leadership is like a chair. You see, you're seated comfortably in this chair. Do you know why you're seated comfortably? It's because of this. These are your people. If this goes away,
then
you fall. So any leader, and this is free advice to anybody who's ever going to want to lead a nation, make sure you have the people behind you. Because without them, you will never be able to lead. Because who are you leading? Are you leading chickens? Are you leading cows? You lead people. So make sure your people are there.
That's so true, because now it just reminded me, like, even if you have a company and you know what is like the vision of that company, you will try as much as your best to make sure that everything that you do is to achieve that vision.
Precisely.
And that now like reflected now to the whole country as well.
Yes. But your workers need to understand what is that vision. And then they have to be the ones to drive that vision. Yes.
Like if a young Namibian is listening to this today, right now, maybe in trying to find their own path as well, do you want them to follow in your footsteps or forge their own?
I always tell people, be yourself. You see, the problem is we like to mimic too much. You can never be Amushelelo, but you can definitely be Elizabeth. You can definitely be Nelson. You can definitely be whoever it is that you want to be. Obviously, if you want to be a social justice activist or you want to be a media practitioner, have role models.
Yeah.
Look up to those people and then see where it is that they made their flaws, made their mistakes. Learn from that in order for you to be able to become a better version of your role model. So there's no harm in a young person who is clueless right now, doesn't know what it is that they want to do in their life.
Yeah.
And I always tell young people to say that you don't have to figure out everything right now. Sometimes life has a way of only showing you things at a later stage in terms of wherever it is that you want to be. But all I'm saying is, for young people, relax. Some of you are competing with people who are 20, 30 years ahead of you, 50 years ahead of you. I'm like, boy, relax. Your time is gonna come. You're just now 15, you are 16. Some of us now, we are 34, we are 50, and you wanna compete with us. The years in terms of experience and things that we have learned over the years, it's just too far. So slow down. Your time is gonna come. There's no need to rush. Just relax. The problem is this world of instant fame has become a massive problem. And everyone is looking to just instantly become that hot commodity. I tell people, 15 years ago, I was relatively unknown. 10 years later, shh. But it took 10 years. But someone who's just starting today wants what I have achieved in 10 years to achieve it in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So I always tell young people, be patient. There is no harm in just being patient. Your time is eventually going to come. You just need to focus on whatever it is that you're doing now and be rest assured that if you continue on that path, eventually you are going to reach your destination.
Yeah, I think we're too impatient, like you said. But also sometimes, I don't know, it's maybe because of the rooms that young people find themselves. Because also sometimes I find myself, okay, I'm kind of like, I'm so behind. My peers are kind of like doing much better than me. But then sometimes I'm like, okay, the person I'm actually comparing to be my peer, that person is even maybe 5 years younger than me. Or the experience that that person has, it's like totally way, and I'm trying to compare myself to that person.
But this is the thing that I also tell people. You have no idea what is it that the next person had to do to get ahead. You know, some of you, you are just here, the person is ahead. People are opening up their legs, people are, I don't know what it is they're doing, but do you honestly want to get there through shortcuts? Obviously, you want to know you got there based on your own merits. Some people, yes, they are ahead, but the very same people who put them ahead can equally be able to take them back. But what you have earned on your own merits, no one can ever be able to take away. So that is why I always tell people to say that your life is not the same as the next person's life. Yes, the two of you can be the same age mates, the other one is ahead and things of that sort. But that person being ahead doesn't mean your time is also not going to come where you're also going to be able to leap in front or anything of the sort. So sometimes I tell people, be content whilst working hard towards whatever it is that you want to achieve. Now, there's a phrase that says, stay foolish, stay hungry. That simply means act like you don't know, meaning that always want to consume as much knowledge as you can. Never be the smartest person in the room. Self-education, guys, is very important because you teach yourself things you never knew. I mean, most of the things I know today, I've taught them myself. And hungry? What do we mean by that? That simply means always want more. I mean, yes, Amushelelo is here now, but I don't want to be here. I want to go because comfort creates insecurity. When you become too comfortable, you become insecure because now you feel, oh, Elizabeth is also living in Kleine Kupe now. Hi, bo. Hi, how? But when you are hungry, you're like, oh, okay, Elizabeth is here. Oh, congratulations. Because you are now no longer looking at things from a point of envy or whatever, or competition. You are looking at it from a point of, how do I now collaborate with this particular person? So for young people out there, be patient.
Yeah.
The time is going to come. And for people who think your peers are ahead, no, your time is going to come as well.
Exactly.
You just need to be patient.
Exactly. Okay, with the current, I want us to tackle the current issues or the current tragedies that has been happening right now, especially with the one in Okahanje right now, because it's like very scary as a country, losing 3 people in a time of like a month. And like, what is that, like, looking at that experience or that what happened, like, where do you see us going as a country?
But here's the thing. This is not the first time this is happening. We've had the saga of the B1 butcher, which we're never able to solve. And I think that is where we went wrong as a country.
The one of 5 people? Or which one?
No, the B1 butcher was a serial killer that kept killing women and then dumping them at the B1, on the B1 highway.
Which year was that?
Oh, this is many years ago. You'd have to go do your homework and research on this one. So we were never able to sort of implement systems, train our people properly, so that when an incident of this nature is to occur, we have got the technology and we have the resources to immediately be able to catch whoever it is that perpetrated this particular thing. But because we continually do investments in the wrong things, that is the results of us investing in the wrong things. By now, each and every school should have had a school bus that drops off children, picks them up, and drops them off. By now, security at schools, there should have been at least been having cameras, a register system where you clock in to collect the child or whatever. In fact, I don't know why is it that children are collected outside of the school. We must be able to say, no, colleagues, the school is the safest environment for any child. So control that environment. Let the people who need to go in be the ones to say, if you are a parent or what, you must have access to go into that particular school. The camera must be there to view how you went in and how you come out. It's that simple. But we have not invested in all of these things. And this is years of neglect that is finally just coming to bite us. Because had we seen what that B1 butcher had done, and had we invested in the resources of saying, let us now have the capacity to be able to catch such people. So it's very unfortunate that they are targeting the most vulnerable in our society, because a child can't defend themselves. They can try, but they're too vulnerable. And my heart bleeds for those families. And all we now need to do as a nation, and part of this is that we must be able to, as a society, reevaluate what our society is today. We have lost that thing of Ubuntu, whereby you are able to care for a complete total stranger. Now in our society it's me for myself and God for everyone. Do you know that it's very seldom that a Namibian, when someone is being victimized or being beaten up, do you know what's the first thing that we're likely to do? Is to take out our phones and create content. We come to accident scenes. People bleed to death simply because no one is even willing to render any assistance. That person, they could have saved them while they're waiting for that ambulance that has to come from Lord knows wherever. But we no longer have that willingness to assist just the next person. And I think we have lost our humanity as a society. And this should be a wake-up call to say that let us start to love one another, because only through love can we be able to protect others. But without love, things like this are going to continue happening.
So do you think that's an average Namibian that is doing that?
The problem is with the internet, it has brought so many things. People watch How to Get Away with Murder. They watch this serial killer series and all of this. So you don't know now whether it's someone who watched this thing and now wants to mimic or whatever the case is. And remember, our country is a transit country, né? We've got people coming from all over driving trucks because we've got so many landlocked countries. So you don't know, is the person even a Namibian? Is the person from outside? Is it a tourist that came here? Because remember, our country has one of the largest influx of tourists in Southern Africa. So it could be anyone random. Could be possibly anyone. Could be you, for example. It could be me. We have no absolute idea at this point in time.
Going to your final thoughts now before I let you go. When you look back at your journey, the arrests, the headlines, the sacrifices that you have to make, how do you personally define success? Is it measured in lives touch, the minds that you change, or the systems that you have shaken?
I think I've answered this question several times. You as an individual is the only one who must be able to measure and define what success is for you. Because the moment you want to project what society thinks success is, then you are always going to come second. So define what success means to you. Define what winning means to you. And once you have gotten those definitions, then that's all that matters. Do you know what I define success is to me right now? The mere fact that I have the whole entire government with its state machinery fighting me, but I'm still standing, I'm still smiling. That for me is success. Because when somebody wants you to fall, but you're still standing, have you not succeeded in standing? So sometimes you must be able to be the one who defines what success is.
Interesting. And is Namibia ever ready maybe for the kind of truth that you've been trying to tell us? And or we still like, are there still maybe few years that we need, or maybe decades ahead of your time, like you yourself?
Man, I wouldn't say that they are not ready. It's just that the system has learned to silence people. Now, these guys have practically learned from the olden days. Do you know what they used to do during the days of slavery? They used to take the strongest slave, then they beat him up in front of all the other slaves. And they say, Nelson with all his utanga, he got beaten. Me with no muscle. Let me reverse. Let me go back. So part of this contempt of court, it was to teach people to say, hey, come and try and be smart in our courts. We'll deal with you. So they have learned how to intimidate people, and they've literally put fear in our people. Remember our first protest for the unemployment? Do you saw how the police brutalized people? They beat up pregnant women and all of that. Do you know what message they were trying to send? Try and attend another protest again. And what did happen? People started becoming fearful to say, go protest or talk at them. So they're using the same tactics that the apartheid government used to use, the colonial system. So they are also just using the same tactics to continue remaining in power. So all I'm saying is that there is going to come a day when the people are going to lose their fear. And when the people lose their fear, those in government, that is the day that they fear the most.
Okay, and like if you had the entire country now listening to you right now, no interruption, no filters, what will you tell the Namibian people?
All I'll tell the Namibian people is to say that let us live up to our name, Land of the Brave. I mean, somebody knew that this country is full of brave people, and that is why it is called Land of the Brave. All we need to do is live up to that And I can guarantee you this country is going to be a better country for each and every one of us. We just need to be brave. Let us lose our fear. Let us lose complete fear. Let us become courageous. Let us become bold. And above all, let us be truly land of the brave. That's all I would tell them. We must just man up, woman up. We've been given the name.
Yeah.
I don't know who coined us as land of the brave.
Yeah.
I mean, we are the brave warriors. That's what we call our team. But I don't see us being brave and being warriors. So we must start to own up to these names that we have. Because they say a name is powerful.
Yeah.
But it seems to me, we just have names, but we have not yet accessed the power in those names. So all we need to do is let's access the power in those names.
Yeah, exactly. And what if all this ended tomorrow? Like there's the fights, the platforms, the spotlights, and what do you want your daughter to remember about who you really were beneath the image of Michael Amushelelo in the public eye, the fire and the fights?
Like I said, I do not care what anyone has to sort of come and remember about who I am or what it is that I was. That I'm dead, guys. So I have got no qualms as a dead man wanting to be bothered with people who are alive. So unfortunately, like I said, we cannot control the narrative in terms of what people ought to think of you and how they ought to narrate you when you're no longer there. So that is me wanting to dictate to people to say that when I'm dead, please remember me as such or do this. It is absolutely wrong. Let the people freely choose and decide for themselves what is it that they feel you meant to them, the impact that you had on their lives. Whatever energy or inspiration or motivation that you brought to those people, let them themselves decide to say, man, thanks to this man who's seated here now 6 feet, or I don't know how many feet you guys are going to bury me, this A, B, C, and D. But don't you tell the people what it is that they must remember you for.
Yeah, but do you want your daughter to remember you the same way the Namibian people do remember you, Nolu, for?
Like I said, how she chooses, that's absolutely up to her. I cannot dictate to her as well, despite the fact that she's my own flesh and blood. And unfortunately, I do not like dictating anything to anyone, whether it's the Namibian nation, whether it's to my own, whether it's to my parents, whether it's to my siblings, doesn't matter. They must choose themselves.
Yeah.
They must have that liberty to decide whatever it is they would like to remember me as.
All right.